barely went. And I almost didn't graduate. And, you know, that's that in a nutshell. Like, I had some okay memories from high school, not a lot of good, fond memories from high school. Just didn't. Um, now, mm, 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 mm. So, my biological mother comes back again. Keep up with me. She gives birth to me, abandons me. She introduces herself at 10, when I was 10. Now she comes back when I'm 18. And my grades was horrible. Like, I had I had no desire to go to college. I never thought about college. I didn't know how I would pay for college. I didn't prepare for college. Like, I did nothing. And one day I get a call from her just out of the clear blue sky. And she informs me that she's going to pay for me to go to college. Well, I'm so pissed. You have to understand. I hate her so much. I could spit fire. Literally, I could spit fire. And she wanted me to go to Langston University. I'll never forget. She wanted me to move. Well, first, she wanted me to go to Ohio State, and I told her I would never go to Ohio State University. So then she wanted me to move to Oklahoma because that's where she was from, and she wanted me to go to Langston University. Well, I had considered that, but she wanted me to move in with people that I didn't know, and I couldn't do it. I could not bring myself to do it. Fear had controlled all of my life. Fear consumed me when I started being sexually abused the way that I was, and then physically abused. I was paralyzed with fear. There was just a lot of things I would not do at all. And moving out of state where I knew absolutely nobody and moving into a stranger's house, that was one of them. I was not going to do that. So we had this big to do. And, I was of an age where I could say what was on my mind, and I could say how I wanted to say it. And I told her, fuck you. I'm I don't need you. I don't need your money. I don't need you to pay for me to go to school. If I ever want to go to school, I'll figure it out. And I didn't go. And she disappeared again. Oh God. Like, yeah, she disappeared again. And when I graduated high school, I got kicked out. I got kicked out, and I ended up moving in my aunt's house. Ended up moving into my aunt's house, the one who I used to live around the corner from that I admired so much. My favorite cousin, she was just a year older than me. She had moved to Maryland, and she had tried to get me to move to Maryland with her. She was going to help me get a government job. I was afraid to do that because she was dating a gentleman who was in the service, and I was afraid that I would get there, get a job, and then they would get married and leave. And that's exactly what happened. Eventually, they got married and they left Maryland. And I just, I could not see myself being in Maryland by myself and not knowing anybody. So I didn't go. Um, I got a job at Wendy's and I had to walk to work, and it was a long hike. And I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. Absolutely none. I was devastated. I just, I hated myself. I hated my circumstances. I hated how I got there. I hated everybody, anybody that would get close. I eventually destroyed those relationships. There was one particular person that I was extremely close to, and I ended up sabotaging that relationship, and she was nothing but good to me. And yeah, my life was such a roller coaster. It's up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down for years. For years. My life was just a mess. You know, I heard a quote, and the quote says that men destroy relationships, but women destroys generations. And that is so true. Because the very thing that my biological mother did to me, yep, you guessed it, I got pregnant. And I met this person when I was in high school. He was my cup of tea. Now, I was very attracted to this person. And I wanted to get to know him better, but it was obvious that wasn't the case for him. And what happened was when I got kicked out and I moved to my aunt's house, I was actually sitting on a porch and he rode by. At this time, he's in college, but he's home from college. He rode by, blew his horn, I waved, and next thing I know, he's pulling up in front of the house and we get to talking and stuff. And so one night, we're hanging out, getting high, had sex, and I get pregnant. Well, by this time, I had connected with a friend who was younger than me, but she had graduated high school. And her mom was helping us to get everything together that we needed so that we could go to school, go to Bowling Green University for college. And I remember one time her mom she asked me, was I pregnant? And I was like, no, ma'am. I was kind of offended. that she would even ask me that. And she was like, "'Cause your hips are spreading." I had never heard that before. So I'm like, what is this lady talking about? But Lord and behold, I was pregnant. And the one thing, though, about my pregnancy, it was like I had already been there before, or like I had a dream of myself and didn't know it was me, because there I was with this turquoise jogging suit, and my legs were laying over the arm of the chair, and I had this book, and I was reading this book. And when I was actually in that position, it was like, oh my God, I've been here before. Like, I've seen, but didn't realize it was me because I couldn't see my face. All I could see was the book. And it was just like, okay, you're supposed to be here. Even though I wasn't with her dad, even though we had only slept together one time, it was sort of like this was supposed to be a new chapter in my life. Like, this was supposed to be. And I had vowed to myself, I didn't care how many kids I had. I told myself, but I praise God I didn't. I told myself I didn't care if I had 10 kids by 10 different men. I was not going to give my kids away, that I would struggle with my babies. And that's what I did. And I may not have given my daughter away, but I did complicate her life because her father wasn't a part of it. And I tried the best that I could do. I eventually went to college. There was somebody who meant a lot to me, who I just single handedly destroyed that relationship. But I named my daughter after this person. And she helped me get into school. I went to college, and I took my daughter to college with me. And I did the best that I could do with the situation being what it was. And I met some other great females. I ended up pledging a sweetheart organization, and I met this one particular young lady um, who was from Toledo, and I met her mom, and I met her. Back then it was her boyfriend, but they're married now. And I met him, and I met some really good people. And this particular young lady, she was a godsend. Um, and her mother was God sent. And they played a very pivotal part in my life and in my daughter's life. And I, I wished, I wish if I could go back and change anything, I would have moved to Toledo, because her mother was affording me to. Um, I could have moved to Toledo. I could have finished college. And the outcome of my life would have looked totally different than it does today. But I didn't. I didn't. This is what's going to trip you out. The very person that allowed her daughter to come into her home and put me out of her home. Now, mind you, when I found out I was pregnant, I asked, could I move back? And I was told no. So check this out. I'm pregnant with my daughter. I am no longer living with my aunt. I am living with an associate. Her husband is in the military, but her mother gets sick. Now I have nowhere to go. I go back to the house that I lived in, that I got put out of, and I asked, could I come back home because I'm having this baby. I was told that the daughter who put me out would not want me moving back into her mother's house. I ended up moving directly across the street. Directly across the street. This couple that had been our neighbor for years allowed me to move in with this newborn baby. I go away to school, and while I'm in school, Nana gets sick, diagnosed with Alzheimer's, dementia, Alzheimer's. And the very people that put me out had the audacity to ask me to come take care of their mother. Now, what kind of shit was that? And guess what I did? I felt like I owed Miss Thomas for taking such good care of me and raising me and protecting me the way that she did. And she had been deceased for years, so I would never, ever be able to take care of her. So I felt like I owed it to her to take care of her daughter. And that's what I did. I quit going to school to take care of her for 3 years. When I moved back home from college, I ran into a guy, a male friend of mine. And when we were teenagers, you know, he was a little bit of a running rebel, I would say. But he ended up living with us for a summer. And so he called Nana, like she was his grandmother. And so he came over. I ran into him at a piece of place, and he came over and he invited a friend, and we was playing cards. Now, I had no idea that I was going to have this attraction for the friend, but I did. Heavily attracted to this person. And this person became a very, very, very big part of my life, to the fact where I remember one time my dad told me, he said, now, I'll take care of you, but I don't take care of grown ass men, because he was at the house so much. I don't know if he thought he moved in, I let him move in or what, but when I met him, shortly after I met him, I got pregnant. He didn't want me to have a baby, so my dad paid for an abortion. Then I got pregnant again and had a miscarriage. And we kept messing around. I met all of his brothers. Now, I just want to say to anybody who may be listening to this and can see yourself in any of this story, I want to say this one thing to you. If you are dating a guy and he never introduces you to his parents, red flag, run. If he never introduces you to his sister, red flag, run. He is hiding something. I knew all of his brothers. I knew he had a sister. I knew he had, of course, his parents. If a man introduces you to his brothers, even if he allows you to meet his children and they're young, but you never meet his parents or you never meet a sister, I don't care if he does introduce you to the kids. Run. That was my situation. I knew all of his brothers, and he used to bring his children to my house. Two of them, two girls at the time. But he told the oldest girl I was just a friend when we were more than just friends. My oldest daughter, there was a lady that one of my aunts, she was a good friend of my aunt's, and she babysat, and she used to take care of my daughter. And I remember one time my daughter, she was I don't know, 2. I think she was 2. She might have been 4. 1 to 2. She was little. Let's just put it that way. She was a little girl. She wanted my babysitter to come and pick her up. And she told her she was busy. She couldn't. So my daughter told her she was going to hop on the bus and come and see her then. This little girl, and I thank God I got witnesses. This little girl dumps out money on the bed, puts her purse, I guess, I can't remember if she had the purse or if she just took money. But she walked out the house, walked down a busy street, and a gentleman sees her from the street. So he takes her to a daycare that's near and leaves her at the daycare center. Now, the people at the daycare center, they're too stupid to realize that she didn't even belong there. So it's after hours. They end up calling the police. The police come. The police end up taking her to Franklin County Children's Services. And I'm going to tell you something. This is why it pays to raise kids in church. And hear me clear. My baby was sitting in the back of the police car singing church songs. Because my babysitter knew the system and I didn't, when myself, my aunt, and I, with the babysitter, get down to Franklin County Children's Services, the first thing they asked was who in the household was saved. And my aunt said that she was. And we said, why? And they said, because this baby has been singing church songs the whole time. My aunt had put my daughter in the choir with her, and she was going to choir rehearsal, and she was singing church songs. She was in the back at Franklin County Children's Services eating baked beans and hot dogs. As quick as they opened up a case on me is as quick as they shut the case, because they knew that she was in no danger. But my babysitter knew the guy that I was dating, and she knew his parents really well. Well, now we're 2 years in. 2 years in of dating. His father was a pastor of a church, and of course, his mother was a first lady. My babysitter runs into his mother in Schottenstein's on a Sunday. And my babysitter says to her, my daughter and your son are getting ready to get married. And she said, who's your daughter? And which one of my sons are you talking about? And so she said the names, my name and his name. Now, his mom's the first lady, and she's in Schottenstein's. And her words verbatim, because my babysitter told me, she said, that stupid bitch thinks my son is going to leave his beautiful wife for her. She's got another thing coming. Well, for 2 years, 2 whole years, I never told my babysitter his last name. For 2 whole years. Never said his last name. And one day she asked, and then she told me she knew him, the family. And when she ran into the mother, she called me and she told me she had something to tell me. I just didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. And she told me that this guy was married and that he had been married the whole time we was together. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand how in the world was he married when he was at my house all the time, and when I met all of his brothers. And they would always come to my house looking for him and his friends. I never thought about the fact that I had never met his parents or his sister. That just did never cross my mind. And when I confronted him about it, he had a lie. He told me this elaborate story, and I believed him. And I stayed another 4 years. I dated a married man. At this point, I had dated him for 2 years, not knowing he was married. And I dated him another 4 years, knowing he was married. And at the end of the sixth year, I had had enough. I had had enough, and I had decided that I was going to leave this relationship. And I did. And I left the relationship, and with no other baby, right? So I met him at 24, and I stopped dating him around 29. I so it was about 5 years. Um, he came back looking for me, and in a drunken stupor, he sang this song and dance, and me needing validation, needing love, desiring love, wanting so desperately to be loved by somebody, and especially him after all of the years. I took him back. Took him back, but You have to remember something. When you play with fire long enough, you get burned. And I guess God was tired of me playing with the fire because I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, he left me, and he left me for good. He left me for good. Now I'm pregnant with my second baby by myself. No degree, no end in sight, no career in sight, no nothing. I had absolutely no clue of what I was going to do with my life and what was I about to do. What was I about to do with another baby? I had no idea.